back to my channel. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most controversial topics in leadership development in call centers and BPOs in Latin America and Caribbean. How to manage uncomfortable conversations. Why is this controversial? Let me tell you this. After working with 12 different countries, I've identified that this is the number one problem that management and staff have, no matter the culture, having individuals in management roles that they don't know exactly how to manage difficult conversations, uncomfortable conversations in the labor force. And this is catastrophic because this impacts directly attrition, morale, and engagement of your team with your clients. Most of the times people is way too aggressive, or they avoid the uncomfortable situation thinking or expecting that someday this is going to actually resolve by itself. And it doesn't happen. And this creates frustration for people. This creates the feeling of being unworthy in the labor force, or that certain problems are not important when they are actually important. So today we're going to talk about what is an uncomfortable conversation, why it's important that you have those uncomfortable conversations with your teams, with your clients, and within your organization. I'm going to give you some tips that can help you on that uncomfortable conversation in a difficult situation next time, so you can be that leader of change. Are you ready? Managing conflict effectively is one of the core elements that differentiate a manager from a leader. You want to look for options to resolve that uncomfortable situation and make sure all parties involved are on the same page and we move forward. When you avoid those conversations, what you do instead is that you create a status quo environment. What does that mean? You don't move forward. You stay in the same place, and this is what creates this frustration within your people in the company or within the organization, because there is no feeling of advancement. Psychologically speaking, that's the worst case that you as an individual can feel within your company. So first things first, what is an uncomfortable conversation? An uncomfortable conversation is actually having a conversation, discussion that is uneasy, that is going to create tension, discomfort, it's going to be awkward. There's many ways you can have this kind of conversation. The topics that usually involve these uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable conversations, usually touch very sensitive topics that are going to create conflict. I'm going to give you 10 different examples of situations that are going to be uncomfortable, that are going to be controversial. But if you don't take action and have those uncomfortable conversations, it's going to create attrition and it's going to impact directly the engagement and the morale of your teams, your clients, yourself. Harassment topics. Either we're talking about somebody comes to you and say that was sexually harassed, bully, discrimination. That's a very sensitive topic. And you're going to say, well, Christie, human resources is right there. I don't have to deal with that. Not necessarily. For me as a leader, it's very important that we connect with our people at all levels. People are people. And if you have been following me by now, you understand that when you lead a group, it's not only about the numbers. It's not only about the results. The results are going to be driven by the way you connect with the emotions within your teams. So what is going to happen if you decide to not do anything? Your supervisor come to you, your manager come to you, one of the reps come to you and say, I have been sexually harassed, and you don't do anything. This is going to destroy your relationship with this person. At the end of the day, remember, we build relationships. We build our people to their highest potential, and we need to be very aware of this. First, if you don't do anything, then this is going to create a discomfort, lack of trust. And what do you think is going to happen? This person is going to leave in the blink of an eye. Second situation, a conflict between one team and the other. A conflict between an agent and the supervisor. A conflict between the manager and another manager. A conflict. Whatever is the conflict, that is an uncomfortable situation. Why? I'm pretty sure you have examples as I do. Let's say we have a team huddle and we have two managers that they don't talk to each other. What do you think is going to happen? Their people are going to be in the middle. It's going to create a lot of tension during the session, and we're not going to move forward. towards a solution or whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. The same happens with clients. If there is a conflict that is not discussed, that's gonna create an uncomfortable situation and it's not gonna vanish. Number 3, micromanaging. This is gonna sound kind of odd, but for all my perfectionist leaders that are watching this and that you want to micromanage people, remember micromanaging is only for low performers most of the times, or people that are very, very new into a role because they need a specific guidance to move from one point to the next. However, when you have high achievers, whenever you have people that actually take extra mile, that's not gonna go very well. When you constantly control a situation, when you constantly want to know every single detail, or vice versa, you are the one that feel control and micromanage from this client, from this new vice president, new director, new manager. Something is not right. Micromanaging translates to a lack of trust. Having somebody feeling that level of intensity without a valid reason. I'm not talking about somebody in a PIP or something to that extent. I'm talking into a regular performance. That's going to create discomfort. Because what it feels like is like, oh, this client doesn't trust me. Oh, my boss doesn't trust me. Okay? So that conversation needs to happen if you are not in a PIP, if you're not a bottom performer. This is very common when you have new clients on board. Like let's say somebody left and then there's a new client, or they hire a new VP, a new director, a new supervisor, a new manager. This probably can create this kind of dynamic, and this leads to discomfort. Number 4, inappropriate jokes. We're talking about bullying. We're making fun of somebody's clothes, on the way they talk, on the way they walk, on the way they actually wear their hair. Those jokes are inappropriate. There is a line, and this is a very sensitive topic, guys. If the other person feels in that way, it's not because you're too sensitive, or you have to be very careful. The owner of your shop have to monitor what is going around. For example, I remember a senior executive from another department in one of my jobs before, and this person sent this nasty email to my manager. Nobody talked to my manager like that. So those uncomfortable conversations need to happen, and that's how you show loyalty to your people too. Number 5, politics. I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, Christy, but that's impossible. Politics, most of the times, are going to create tension, especially when there is a different point of view. It's important that if somebody actually approach in your sessions, you have those uncomfortable conversations to put and draw the line, so you avoid certain things to happen. Or no communication is communication, and is very ineffective. I'm going to give a very specific example of many. A client sent a very specific request to your manager, and the manager doesn't respond. That poor communication or no answer at all creates a lot of discomfort from the receiver, in this case the client, and that not only impact the reputation of that individual, of that manager, but impact the company, your team, and that create a lot of discomfort and other kind of problems. Number 7, high pressure situations. For example, you're about to leave on vacation you already asked for a month ago. You have Friday 5 p.m. and you receive this overload of work coming from your client, or coming from another department, coming from something else, and then you are here and you are a director, you are a manager, you are a supervisor. How do you manage that? That requires an uncomfortable conversation. First, because of course the other person is trying to push something that is not really the right way to do. On the other hand, if you don't put the boundaries and you don't have those uncomfortable conversations, then you're gonna get stuck on a Friday afternoon and working through your vacation time. This is one of many examples. Number 8, criticism or public humiliation. And this is a very, very touchy and sensitive one. For me, the core concept of you don't do others what you don't want others to do to you is kind of like the basic Leadership 101, right? But I guess some people are unaware on certain behaviors. What is public humiliation? I'm not talking about social media. I'm not like this person is popular or not. Let's say your group is in a focus group session with all the managers, and one manager raised a concern, a problem that is actually happening, and then some other person try to minimize whatever this person is saying. Can be many reasons why this person do that. It can, as the leader of that situation or moderator, if it's you the one who has actually experienced that, if you don't have those uncomfortable conversations, then this is gonna continue. If you don't address properly this uncomfortable situations through uncomfortable conversations, things are gonna repeat. Remember, what you tolerate repeats. So having a rash criticism within your organization, that create a very hostile environment, which impact morale and directly impact the attrition of your group, because that goes all the way. Number 9, having a lack of recognition on accomplishments and goals. Not receiving, not giving recognition from your hard work at any level is one of the biggest triggers of emotional discomfort within an organization. This coming from a client, this coming from the company, you as a leader within your groups, undervaluing that person, that individual, that leader. Unrealistic expectations and goals. I remember a time I had a very uncomfortable conversation with one of the executives from my client side. The situation was that we were receiving the goals from my team almost a month later. I came down to actually understand where the goals were coming from. We were holding accountable for that. I was new taking that program, and the first thing I do is assess where we at versus where we want to be, meet with the people, and that was the very first concern, and it was very valid. People will, Christie, we have bonuses, we're receiving the goals the third week of the month, almost end of the month, we don't have a daily update. So I put together my plan with my team and my manager, and the client was very resistant, and I had to have this conversation, and was very uncomfortable to make sure that we receive the goals on time through a service level agreement. We did many changes, including having a daily report, real time disputes, as transparent as it would be for my team and my clients. At the end, the company was happy. You see the correlation on this? But if your teams do not have a clear, precise goal, expectations, this is gonna create a lot of discomfort, especially, guys, if this impact their pocket. Remember what we have talked in other videos. Money, you need to respect the money of other people. People need to understand how, when they can earn extra money, when and how they lose extra money beforehand. So you don't change goals like last minute. You don't change the goal of the previous month unless you really want to make sure that you destroy the morale of your groups. And this applies for clients and the people. So if your client wants to change a goal that was for the previous month, I strongly recommend you put into action and you manage that situation, because your team is gonna be impacted negatively by all levels. And then you're gonna say, well, Christy, how do I actually have these conversations? Remember, this is the first saga of 3 that I'm gonna put together for you to give you specific tools that you can use and integrate in your day-to-day to have those uncomfortable conversations differently next time, if that's one of the things that you or your team members wants to work on this year. Managing uncomfortable conversations can be one of the hardest things you can have. Breaking the pattern of ineffective communication is hard. My intention with this video is to inject the seed so you are more aware of your impact as a leader, and you can duplicate that change when you share this video with other people that needs that push. So managing uncomfortable conversations conversations require a combination of effective communication techniques and a strategy. So I want to give you 10 different ways on how you can prepare your own strategy to face and approach that difficult conversation. Guys, you do not have a difficult conversation without preparation, especially if this is new to you, because it's not gonna go right. Either again, you're gonna be too aggressive, reactive, or you're gonna just not say anything because you don't know what to say, or simply because it's too much for you. This is gonna really impact you and your teams and your clients and the relationship between the three of them. So the very first thing I just said is prepare yourself. You have to sit down and kind of digest. And I said, because if you don't, you're not gonna have a strategy. You're gonna just go. What I mean is prepare all your thoughts to actually identify what is the problem on this situation. If it's one manager being bullied to another person, how you need to position that. But most important, what other departments needs to be involved too. How you're gonna make sure that this is corrected, because this is not about a coaching opportunity. This is a different kind of conversation, an uncomfortable conversation, which is not necessarily a coaching. A reprimand is very different from a coaching, guys. So you need to understand what are the potential reactions of this person. What can go wrong on that conversation, so you can prepare also for that. You have to choose an appropriate setting, an appropriate space. What does that mean? You're going to touch a very sensitive topic, and you are going to go through a very uncomfortable situation. You probably want to remove that person or that group to another setting. And you might say, well, this is kind of the common thing. Man, I have seen things. I have seen people approaching very sensitive stuff on the floor, and then people start crying on the floor. I'm not judging. I'm saying you need to prevent this kind of things, because crying on the floor creates also discomfort and tension within the rest of the people that they don't know what is going on, and they don't need to know neither. So it's a level of respect also for individuals that needs to happen to make sure that you go from the uncomfortable conversation to actually get a resolution and move forward. Number 3, you need to be able to listen. Less talking, more listening. This means not interrupting, because that's disrespectful too. It's a great technique of negotiation, but we're not talking about negotiation here. We're talking about having uncomfortable conversations. One tip that I want to give you, and is number 4, is use the I statement instead of them, they said. Because the I statement make a psychological effect on the message through the receiver. I notice XYZ. No, like, oh, they said that you are, right? It's an opinion. We're talking about a very specific I. So it's your perspective. It's less like accusation, if that makes sense. I'm gonna give you an example. I feel uncomfortable when you do XYZ. Very specific, very clear. But if you said, you always do XYZ, this comes more from an accusation standpoint. So don't be surprised if this person actually react defensively and aggressive, because it will feel that you are actually attacking this person. Number 5 is something that is not easy. You need to remain calm during this uncomfortable conversation. So this means that when you are going to have these uncomfortable conversations, not only you need to be prepared, but you cannot be upset yourself. And I'm going to make a pause here, because as leaders, the more you grow in your career, the more things you're going to see, more executive levels, the more information you're going to manage. And most of the time is going to be very critical on how you respond towards your own emotions. If you are upset because either you disagree with the decision that was made, you try to negotiate something or make your point across and it did not happen, and you feel upset, how do you think the message is going to be given? It's going to be also with that level of discomfort, either you want or not. Body is something that speaks itself. And then this is one of the topics that I'm touching in my bootcamp. At the end of the day, by you being calm while you are having this uncomfortable conversation, you are able to take things objectively. You are able to actually provide objective information. Facts, not opinions, not what you feel, not what you think. Facts. facts. Okay. Number 6 is very important that you try to also see the other person's perspective. If somebody came with a complaint, if somebody comes with one of these uncomfortable situations and you, HR, whoever made an investigation, or you are in this process, or you want to address this directly, then make sure that you also understand what is the point of view of this other individual, not to justify, but again, we're talking about facts. It's very important that you can see both sides. Does that make sense? Leave me your comment here. I like to know, what do you think? This creates also collaboration. We can cohabit. Number 7, very important that you have very clear what is the intention, so you can set a common ground. Those uncomfortable conversations are actually very quick, very specific. The person might have a pushback. Let's say you are negotiating these goals that they are unreasonable. You are making sure that your people have the visibility. You're not receiving the results. Let's make sure that both parties involved can get into an agreement. This is very important, and is a very important part of your plan and your strategy. Number 8 is extremely critical that you don't lose focus of the main topic. We're talking about harassment, for example, a bullying situation at work. It's very important that you understand that the other person or the rest of the people will have the tendency to try to defend themselves or take the attention somewhere else. For example, your position in the goal situations were the way they were before you, yada yada yada. You need to be ready to redirect those conversations again. It's not about the past conflicts. It's not about 2 years ago. It's not whatever the topic we're talking about now. Number 9, take breaks. The conversation is going too far away. You need to take a break and understand how you're going to redirect back and get a conclusion in it. This is very important for your mental health and for the rest of the people as well. 10, be very intentional on what is the resolution that you want to accomplish. The ultimate goal of managing an uncomfortable situation effectively is to make sure that you get a resolution. You get a commitment from this group of people, from this individual, on how things are going to be done, or you get into an agreement if it's within the organization, if it's with your boss, if it's with your people. It is a commitment and a mutual agreement. Remember, having uncomfortable conversations are not easy. That's why many people want to avoid them. But when you create a safe space, and what does that mean? And a space that people can actually speak their mind with respect, and we can get into a middle ground. We can get into agreements. We can discuss how to move forward in a situation that is creating frustration that ultimately is going to impact your attrition, the attrition of your team, going to impact their relationship with your client, and ultimately you are not going to feel all right because it is a pending thing there. But by taking that step of breaking those patterns of communication, you are creating a way more engaging environment. People are going to feel way more respected. That's going to boost their morale, and that boosts their productivity right away. A person feels that the company and their clients care about them is going to work by themselves. So Christy, is it worth it? Of course it's worth it. Is it easy? No, it's not going to be easy. If this is new for you, consistency and practice are critical. So remember to like this video if you like it, share it with other leaders in the industry who are determined to level up their communication skills this year. And if this topic resonated with you, if you are on track to your next promotion, or you need a strategic guidance from an expert to really have a different perspective and impact within different audiences in call center and BPO, whether you're a trainer, a supervisor, a manager, manager of manager, director, VP, and you are determined to level up your communication skills this year, Supercharge Your Communication Powers Bootcamp is for you. I'm excited to host my first in-person event in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. We have the day. This bootcamp does not exist in our industry. I designed it for individuals of any background who wants to move forward in their career. So do not miss this incredible opportunity. I have very limited spaces available. The free bonuses and promotions are right here. Are gonna be until July 15th. So make sure that you contact me right away. If you are in Santo Domingo, if you have teams in Dominican Republic, and this is one of the core competences, this is the moment to join. So see you next class.